Thank you, Saddam. Good morning, members of the media. Good morning, viewers looking on locally and beyond our shores. I address you in the context of us being under a national state of emergency and against the backdrop of our second double murder for the year occurring last night. Ladies and gentlemen, the PNM government hasn't articulated a crime plan to tell us what they will do henceforth to deal with runaway violent crime. We don't expect them to articulate anything because had they had a clue, they would have been implementing it right now. The much touted 10-point crime plan, which they parroted as the magic bullet between 2010 and 2015, has failed spectacularly, and it was fully implemented. Stuart Young, who for the last 10 years was the Siamese twin of Keith Rowley, from 2015 to now, they were joined at the hip, and now he is Rowley 2.0, or Rowley Reloaded, has not articulated a crime plan. So to vote Stuart Young means you don't want change, that you are comfortable with violent crime. If you even consider doing that, voting him, then it means that you don't want change because he was, at some point, the Minister of National Security, and his presence had zero impact. The government spent the last 10 years trying to fix the criminal justice system by legislation and only made it worse. They spent the last decade dealing with the criminal justice system, which is the tail end of the problem. The criminal justice system gets involved long after the crime is already committed, long after the home invasion, long after the rape, long after the murder, and only after the offender is detected. But our detection rate is an abysmal single digit. Our conviction rate is also abysmal, and they haven't addressed the reasons why and how to solve these things. They haven't done anything meaningful to improve the detection rate, and it only takes an ounce of common sense to know that before detection, there's prevention. Short-term and long-term. Long-term being root cause, short-term proximal causes. And ladies and gentlemen, that is what our country cries out for. That is what our citizens deserve. Effective crime prevention, much more than dealing with it at the tail end of the criminal justice system when you already have a single-digit detection rate and when there's detection, an abysmal conviction rate. They haven't addressed an issue which is at the forefront of many people. Why are so many police officers before the courts? Why are so many members of our protective services before the courts? Ladies and gentlemen, crime cannot flourish without the involvement of members of the protective services. That is a fact. That is a fact. Whilst most police officers are well-intentioned, hardworking, and honest, there is an unacceptable percentile of police officers who are facilitating criminal conduct, facilitating criminal gangs, providing support. Just read the papers and you'll see police officers charged with gang members and for providing support. It only takes an ounce of common sense, ladies and gentlemen, to know why there are so many assassinations that go unsolved. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know how to fix it. We intend to fix it. Part of the problems in terms of long-term stems from our system of education. A system of education that the PNM boasts about, but which in reality, at this point in our existence, is downright anachronistic, irrelevant, disempowering, and ends up disenfranchising too many of our youth. Our government, particularly in the last 10 years, has been setting up our young men for failure. Many of them ending up in the funeral home, many of them ending up in the criminal justice system, many of them starting off simply as first-time offenders, and by the time they leave the prisons, heads of gangs. And it goes on and on. There are no opportunities, no options, no hope for our young people. They've provided none in the last 10 years. But they have fixed NCB Global Finance and their financiers. What they've done is put into practice what the Honorable Prime Minister Rowley said on the morning after the 2020 elections, that they've left the ordinary man, the ordinary youth, to fight to eat the crumbs that fall off the table when he creates opportunities for the rich. So another part of dealing with crime in the long term would be social services. And our social services are not reaching the most vulnerable. We intend to fix that. This system where those most vulnerable, for instance, must leave Toco. They live on $20 or $40 a day. They leave Toco to go to try to access grants and so on in Sangre Grande, then to be told by a public servant, you need to get this document and that document, which pushes the remedy further down the road. And when someone has to spend $20 in transport from Toco to Sangre Grande and then not get what they went for, then do you really expect them to take the chance to come back again? You see, many of us don't know that. But when you go on the ground and you see how poor people actually live, do you really expect them to wager the $40 that is meant to buy bread and cheese and peanut butter for their children for the next morning for school or when they come home from school? Do you really expect them to wager that in transportation to go to get social services and then not get it? This must change. The classroom, the teacher must be the front line of social services in our education system. You must have a system where teachers can liaise directly with social workers assigned to the school, and where the social worker is the middleman who ensures that what is needed, whether it is homework supervision, whether it is the student not having books, whether it is the student not having shoes or uniforms, or whatever is disrupting the student at home, that these things are fixed. You cannot expect our young people, particularly in single mother households and so on, where the single mother has to go out and earn, and where the child goes to school hungry or without resources whilst his compatriots have the resources. You cannot expect him to benefit from the system of education. You cannot expect him to do his best. Those in Trinidad and Tobago who get through our education system and excel, they do it not because of the system of education provided by the PNM, but they do it in spite of this failing system of education. It is a testament to their resilience, and many times it is a testament to their resources. So, ladies and gentlemen, we intend to fix that. I am the UNC candidate for Toco, Sangre Grande, a constituency which contributes so much to our country but gets very little in return. One of the poorest constituencies in this country. I intend to fix that in Toco, Sangre Grande by becoming a full-time member of parliament. Toco, Sangre Grande will be my project, and Toco, Sangre Grande will lead the way to show what is possible. In the same way, I left school so many years ago with nothing, with 0 passes, but had the opportunity to turn it all around. I'm going to show, and I intend to share my formula with the youth in Toco, Sangre Grande, that they can be equal to and better than the youth of Westmoreland. I will prove it to them that if I can do it, coming from Belmont, Serrano Road to be particular, which is now a battlefield between them and Bella Road, where I also spent some time in my youth. I intend to show it that if I can do it, and if others from these communities can do it, that they can do it. So ladies and gentlemen, we ask that you put aside party loyalty, because this is a critical time in our history when we must help Generation Z to come forward and to be better. We cannot have a system of education where those who get out of it successfully, many of them go abroad, do well, and it's in essence a brain drain. We must have a system of education where every student doesn't have to be academic. Every student is a student of quality. So even when the best leave, those who stay behind will be high quality in every sector, whether it's academics, whether it's agriculture, business, what have you. We intend to fix that. Give us our opportunity to fix it. The PNM they've had 10 years to fix it. They've shown, the Siamese twins, they've shown they've done nothing in 10 years. All they've shown is that they are incapable of fixing it, but capable of fixing themselves. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you.